I know this is not the best of time for someone like Sheikh Gumi and his likes, considering the onslaught against Fulani militias, the successes being recorded against Fulani militias in almost all the theater of operation of Nigerian Army, Nigerian Air Force, and even the locals. And of course, I think the one that is giving them heavy blow is one that is coming from the locals. That is why I continue saying that Nigerians, particularly the patriotic ones, should unite and keep behind the federal government in their quest to get these bandits out of every inch of Nigeria's territorial integrity. But I want to say that at some point, even now, that the federal government need to beam their satellites on some strange areas. Because remember that before now, even United Arab Emirates, under the last administration of Muhammad Buhari, gave Nigeria a list of terrorism sponsors. So one would have expected that a Buhari government would have given it attention that it deserved. But surprisingly, it is not a record that anybody was arrested or anybody was prosecuted with sequel to that. But again, I think this government should give it priority attention and even look at that list again. I'll bring you the news to refresh your memory. But I think the position of former governor of Kaduna State is very potent in this area. There are so many areas I disagree with him, but on this, I think he's right. Listen to him briefly. I will come back to bring you this issue of federal government beaming their satellite on these terrorism sponsors.
My position has always been the only repentant bandit is a dead one. Let's kill them all. Let's wipe them. Let's bomb them until they are reduced to nothing.
Yep.
And then the 5% that still want to be rehabilitated can be rehabilitated. You do not negotiate from a position of weakness. You don't empower your enemy. You don't give him money to go and buy more sophisticated weapons. That's why the insecurity problem has not gone away and will not go away as long as this policy continues.
So having heard from him, I think it's abundantly clear. I've never doubted it anyway, that bandits do not repent. And he has consistently maintaining that position. And I think it's correct because this is someone who have had a first-hand experience of what banditry looks like, having governed a state that is ravaged by banditry and all of that. But again, let's all look at this list from United Arab Emirates. And maybe the government of the day should focus on it. Because even Kau Baraje, I will come to that later, even recently, made it very clear that they brought Fulani bandits into Nigeria for the purpose of 2015 election. So that is why this government must take it seriously and root them out. But again, let us look at what we have here. So I'm reading from the Punch newspaper. I say, full list. UAE names 6 Nigerians, 47 others are terrorism sponsors. You go for that to say that 6 Nigerians have been designated as terrorism sponsors by the United Arab Emirates. The state-owned news agency, WAM, made this known in a report. The country said the listed individuals and entities, including their affiliates, are being monitored. The Nigerians named are Abdurrahman Ado Musa Salihu Yusuf Adamu, Bachi Ali Yusuf, Mohammed Ibrahim Isa, Ibrahim Ali Ahazan, and Surajo Abubakar Mohammed. He said the UAE cabinet has issued resolution number 83 of 2021 designating 38 individuals and 15 entities on its approved list of persons and organizations supporting terrorism, local terrorist lists. The resolution underscores the UAE's commitment to target and dismantle networks that finance terrorism and its related activities. The point I'm making here is, I think the current government, talking about the government of Tinubu, Senator Tinubu, because we can see some level of seriousness and the quest of this government to decimate bandits. I think they should give it the attention that it deserves. Because if a country like UAE is sharing some level of intelligence with Nigerian government, it's expected that Nigerian government should act with every seriousness that it deserves. But again, if you look at the position of Kau Baraje, who made it very clear that bandits were brought from different parts of the world into Nigeria for the purpose of 2015 election. As we have it, they succeeded in removing Jonathan from office, but Nigeria is still battling with issue of banditry. So if that is the case, I think the government should as well bring their satellite on those who brought them in, because we had a situation where even a former military retired intelligence officer made it very clear that the ultimate aim of those who sponsor terrorism, like Boko Haram, is to Islamize the country. So I think now that we are seeing that this government is serious to fight terrorism, because we understand that very soon the government will be taking delivery of about 50 private jets, about 50 fighter jets, which of course we add to Nigerian air platform against terrorism. But I think in a way, to completely root out terrorism, we must deal with the sponsors. We must deal with every character that is sympathetic to terrorism. And that is why the government must take it as a priority action to get to the root of everyone who is sponsoring terrorism. Just that is why I say, even currently, I know this is not the best of time for someone like Sheikh Gumi, because this is someone who have always advocated that there should be negotiation with terrorists, or call them bandits. To the point that even before 2023 election, he was canvassing, advocating that people should not vote for anyone that will acquire more weapons to fight bandits. But as we have it, this government is resolute, acquiring more arms. I think it's commendable, because for me, what is important is the government should not negotiate with bandits. The best the government could do is to acquire monopoly of coercive power, to police every inch of Nigerian territorial integrity. Because whether we like it or not, it behoves on the president, who goes by the name of the president and the commander of the armed forces, and the governors, who go by the name of the governor and the chief security officer of their respective states, and even the local government chairman, because they have all collectively sworn to an oath to protect lives and property in their different capacities. So to that extent, they must synergize and ensure that lives and properties of Nigerians are adequately protected. More so, as the Constitution puts it in Section 14, Subsection B, in Section 14, Subsection 2B of 1999 Constitution as amended, that the welfare of the people and their security shall be the primary purpose of governance. I think the government should give it all the attention that it deserves and ensure that Nigerians are protected. But again, I must say that we must think out of the box, because you cannot continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Because we must at some point. So you cannot continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. We must at some point reject the security architecture. That is why I saw the approach of federal government talking about the Forest Guard initiative as a welcome development. But for me, I think the thing is not getting the seriousness that it deserves. But by now, I was thinking that the state governments would have keyed into it to the point of already recruiting, or rather enlisting Nigerians, particularly from the locals environment, to get into the Forest Guard. And good thing, the government this time around made it clear that they will be adequately trained and perhaps armed from the office of the National Security Advisor. I think that is a welcome development. You understand that the predicament of security arrangements at the state level before now were for the fact that they could not be armed. Because the issue of arm bearing at that level is a big one. Hence, the Office of National Security have the right to issue an end-user certificate that empowers one to procure and deploy arm at that level. And of course, we understand that that was what was lacking under the last administration of Muhammadu Buhari. A situation where even after Amateku was formed, the then government of Muhammadu Buhari was not ready to allow the security at that level to be armed. And of course, the argument of federal government always have to be with fear of secession. That if empower people, allow people to be armed at that level, that they perhaps we want to secede from the country. I must say that that fear is a misplaced one, because Nigerians are dying their number. Nigerians are being kidnapped on a daily basis. And the best approach to addressing it is to reject the security architecture to the extent of having some level of security arrangement at the state levels. So that's why I commend the effort of federal government when we saw the issue that has to do with that forest guard. And again, the position of the Director General of DSS, talking about Ajayi, who have encouraged the government and the communities that the communities should be the fair line of defense in case of invasion. I think we are currently seeing success in different areas, but what we need is, in some communities, in some localities, there are already security arrangements, but they need to legalize it and strengthen it through the federal government initiative of forest guard. Because in Delta State, for instance, we are seeing that there's already community-led initiative in terms of addressing the insecurity, or rather the banditry. We can clearly see some locals synergizing, collaborating with security agencies like the police, the army, to go into the bushes, into the forests, to root out the bandits. I think that is commendable. And we saw a success operation in Abraka some time ago. We commended it. We saw another one that happened in Washiku. Of course, that is a good one. And if we take attention to Kwara State, we saw a recent one where a handful of bandits were arrested. I think it's equally a welcome one. We saw another recent one, even from the same Kwara State, even Katsina, and all of that. But I want to say that if we have that forest guard in place, and they are given the capacity to combat crime in terms of the anti-bear, I want to say that it will end this issue of banditry. And once it ends, every other thing that we could not achieve as a result of insecurity will start falling in place. Like the inability of federal government to adequately woo investors into the country, into the economy, will no longer be a challenge, because currently it will be extremely difficult to ask someone, an investor, to come into the country, into the economy, under the atmosphere of insecurity, because as an investor, you would have put into consideration the safety of the personnel you are bringing, who of course in most cases are expatriates, and of course they place high premium on their personalities. But again, once we deal with these issues, I must say the coast will be clear for investors to come in. That's why the likes of Adaleru, the likes of Tojibelo must be shown the way out of those bushes, out of the forests they occupy. That's why the government must, as a matter of urgency and necessity, acquire monopoly of coercive power, smoke them out of their holes, set them running, and bring them to justice. Because to negotiate with Adaleru, to negotiate with Tojibelo, like someone like Sheikh Gumi would suggest, is a misnomer, because it is a way of supporting criminality. It's a way of even encouraging criminality. The best the government could do is to arrest them, prosecute them, to act as deterrent to others. Or better still, they could be neutralized in the battlefield to equally act as deterrent to others. Because if you keep them and negotiate with them, definitely you have a way of demoralizing the soldiers who are in the trenches, in the bushes, in all the theaters of operation fighting. And by the time you even come around to say you are reintegrating them into the society, reintegrating them, or rather integrating them into the military, is a misnomer. It's not a welcome idea, because just like someone like the former governor of Kaduna will always say, that there is nothing like repentant bandits. Bandits do not repent. They can only pretend to have repented. Once you integrate them into the society, into the army, they can use that opportunity to gather intelligence for their colleagues who are in the bush and use that to sabotage effort of the security agencies and wreak havoc. Because only recently, we saw a support representative Boko Haram who was integrated into the Nigerian army, arrested by supposed colleagues of community personnel, and it was discovered that he used ammunition to wrap his waist, which in turn wanted to go and send to his colleagues in the bush. So I think that lays credence to that position that bandits do not repent, and that they should be given the treatment of sending them to their creator, who of course have the power to judge them. I think I must say very big thank you for your time. This is Let me so much.